In today's video, we're checking out the all-American Jeep Grand Cherokee in its 5-seater configuration. I'm going to give it a full review, we're going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about it. So stick around till the end, we've got a lot to get through. And welcome to another Greg Dennis review. From the outside, it's still unmistakably a Jeep, thanks to these high-rising waistlines, the wide stance, these thin, slim headlights up front, and the iconic 7-part grille. Yeah, there's definitely 7. And then looking at the side of the car, you've got these 20-inch two-tone wheels. You've got gloss black and chrome accents making up most of the detailing all the way across here, from the top to the beading, onto the handles, all the way down to the C-pillar. And then at the back, the gloss black continues. You've got your Jeep badging. It's a 4x4. This is the Overland spec, but most importantly, you've got actual exhausts coming out here. The overall design updates of this car are more of an evolution than a revolution. So it's still completely identifiable as a Jeep Grand Cherokee, but it's a lot more polished, refined, there's cleaner, softer lines, and although it's completely capable of living in the outdoors, it looks like it could live in the urban city center. And on the inside of the Jeep Grand Cherokee, it is a really nice place to be in. You've got leather and soft touch materials all the way across the dash. You've got this really nice wood finished veneer up front here. It's probably not real, but it really adds a nice natural element to this car that's meant to live on the outdoors. So bringing the outdoors indoors, I like that touch. And while it seems like they may have gone above and beyond with the materials used here, the placement of those materials I find a little bit strange. So while the whole dash is wrapped in leather, well, you don't really touch that often, but the places that you do touch, like your center console, are scratchy plastics. That doesn't make sense to me. So why not steal some of that leather up there and wrap the top of the center console over here? That just makes more sense. And the centerpiece of this interior are the digital displays. And there's 3 of them. And they're all in the 10s. You've got a 10-inch display for your passengers to watch movies and do whatever they want to. You've got a 10.1-inch display here for your infotainment, car settings, maps, and everything you might need. And right in front of the driver, you've got a 10.25-inch display. And the quality of all of these displays is really good. You've got physical buttons down here for your climate control without having to dig into the infotainment. You've also got some nice storage down here underneath with 2 normal USBs and 2 USB-Cs and 1 HDMI to operate this passenger screen, as well as a 12-volt socket here to do whatever you need to. And then making our way further down the console, you've got this rotary dial here for your gears. You've got toggle switches for your air suspension and your different drive modes, and easy to access 4-wheel drive systems down here for your low range and your downhill descent control. You've got another cover over here for your 2 cup holders that has got some rubber lining in here to hold a slimmer can much easier. And then under the armrest, you've got 2 levels. You've got a shorter one here for your keys and small things. And if you open up the bigger one, you've got a much bigger cavity down here with no USBs, because I think they overdid it with how many there are up front here. And then from a driver's point of view, you've got this beautifully leather wrapped steering wheel with contrast stitching, wood veneer, aluminium styling, paddle shifters, physical buttons, start-stop button, and this beautiful crisp display right in front of you, where you're able to change the layout and look at almost anything, from your coolant temperatures to your oil temp, oil pressures, battery voltage, your maps, your multimedia, trip meter, and fuel economy, which will probably shock you when you look at it. And peeking up just from the corners of the dash, you can see 2 speakers, and that's part of the 19-speaker, 950-watt Macintosh audio system that they've got in here. The quality, clarity, and power that you get from the system is almost on par with what I had in the S-Class, and that says a lot. And as cool as what this dark fabric is inside the interior, it does make it quite dark too. So the addition of this panoramic sunroof lets in a lot of light. You've got a full leather interior with heated seats in the front and the back, and steering wheel. It's lovely here in winter. You've got quite a big glove box, and you've got sufficient space in the door bins too. Okay, let's check out the rear. Looking at the rear, you'll be pleasantly surprised with how much legroom you have back here. Now that's in my driving position, and I'm 1.87 meters tall. So having almost a fist of space in front here is actually quite impressive. The quality back here is on par with the front. You've got soft touch materials up here. You've got the wood veneer too. The Macintosh speakers are also all over. You've got your own vents. You don't have your own climate control though, but what you do have is 2 USBs and 2 USB Type-Cs, and also a 230 volt socket to charge whatever else you can't with these 8 USB slots that are inside the car. And then the heated seat buttons for the rear. In the center, you've got a comfortable armrest, 2 cup holders, and a cover covering up your ISOFIX points, so you can securely fit a baby seat back here. Onto the boot. You do have an automatic tailgate, which makes life quite easy. And it opens up to a massive cavity. And because this is the 5-seater, you've got a massive spare wheel down here. And in the back here, you've got some nice tie-down points for anything that you might need. You've got your Macintosh subwoofer. You've also got a 12 volt socket here to use a vacuum or air pump or anything like that. And you might be thinking, but then again, how do you close it if there's no buttons here? Which I find myself in that situation, but they put it down here on the side. Okay, well, enough of that. Let's take it for a drive. And now we're behind the wheel of the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And the first thing I've noticed off the bat is the weighting of the steering. Now, when you are driving a little bit slower, you know, in your driveway, out of driveway, around parking lots and things like that, the steering is very heavy, and it's weirdly heavy. It doesn't feel right, if I can say that. As soon as you start getting up to road speeds and highway speeds and things like that, then the weighting plays in this car's favor, because then the car feels very solid. It goes exactly where you want it to, and it feels natural. But when you are driving slower, the steering is very heavy. Now, as mentioned, this is powered by a 3.6 litre V6. You're expecting me to say turbocharged or supercharged or turbo diesel or something like that. Well, no. This is the 3.6 litre V6 naturally aspirated engine. And it's the Pentastar engine that goes into all of the Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, all of those cars. It's their bread and butter engine, but it's not the best engine. Now, this car's been built for, you know, being adventurous, going off-road, wanting to take the off-road 4x4 trailer, those huge rigs. You're not going to be doing that comfortably in this car. The kilowatt numbers are okay, it's about 210, but the Newton meters are where you're going to struggle the most. And this has got 344, so it's got under 350 Newton meters, which is just not enough for a car of this size in this category with what people are expecting to do with them. But what the V6 does give you is a glorious sound. It does sound really good, and the sound of this V6 matches the road presence, the size, and just the looks of this car. It does demand attention on the road, this car. The looks of it, it's this big, brawly American vehicle, and the sound of this V6 coming, it really does add to the presence of it, and I really like it. So I might just forgive the car's performance for the noise that the engine makes, because your average driver is not going to be going completely off-road. They're not going to be doing hardcore adventuring. They aren't going to be towing massive 3.5 ton rigs. They're going to be driving around every day, possibly back and forth from school, taking the kids to soccer, the occasional pavement parking, that sort of thing. And if you're going to be doing that, then the kilowatts and torque numbers are going to be perfect for you. So I wouldn't let the negativity of the low torque put you off from driving this car if those aren't the objectives that you're wanting. And it is a very comfortable car to drive. It has got dampened air suspension, so when you do change the different drive modes here from like sport to auto and that sort of thing, you do feel a big difference. So the car does get a little bit tighter, and if you go back into auto, it starts to loosen up a bit and become a little bit more comfortable and absorbs the road imperfections and bumps. Driving inside the car here is also very comfortable too. You've got nicely padded armrests for yourself. The seats are very comfortable. They're full leather. So is the steering wheel. The steering wheel is also heated, and so are the front seats and the back seats. And you wouldn't say that Jeeps are synonymous with being very fuel economic. And I'll let you know that that's true. They do claim about 10 liters per 100 Ks on this car. I've been averaging between 13 and 14. Obviously enjoying the sound of the V6. I've been pushing it a little bit more, but not to the degree that I should be sitting on 14 liters per 100 Ks. That's very high. And if you are wanting to part ways with your well-earned rands to get this car, then this overland spec will cost you about 1.54 million rand. But if you are wanting something a little bit more specced out and bougie, then you can get the Summit Reserve, which sells for about 1.74 million rand. And just to remind you that this variant that I'm driving now is the 5-seater. And if you are wanting to get a 7-seater, which is available, it's the Grand Cherokee L, then you can look at adding about 20 to 30,000 rand on top of that price to get the extra 2 seats. And you are also able to change the height of the suspension of this car on the fly too, at the simple tap of a button down here. So if you are wanting to be slammed in an urban setting, you can do that. Or if you are wanting to be high into the stratosphere by going off-road, you can also change that too. And for those people that do want to go off-roading and those that are off-roaders, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see how easy it is to go off-roading in this car. Apart from the air suspension that allows you to get so much additional ground clearance as I've shown you, but the car also makes it so easy for you to go off-road. You've got an entire off-road menu here. You can see the suspension, you can also see all of your gauges, you can see your angles, you can see how the car is tilting. And at the simple press of a button, you can go into 4-wheel drive low range. And if you're needing to descend downhill slowly, downhill descent control, one tap away. Having this 4x4 menu with all of the different gauges that are showing here just helps make the car seem a lot more premium and cleaner than having those rugged 4x4s with all of their gauges stuck on the dashboard. You don't need that. So now it's time for the verdict, the GDR test. Should you get the car? Should you drive the car, take it on a test drive, or should you remove it from the list of cars that you're looking at? And I would recommend that you go and drive it. Go take it for a test drive. Go see if the Jeep Grand Cherokee is the car that you're meant to be with. But to get more out of this car, you have to go up another level and start paying more money to even get something like a 360-degree camera, which this doesn't have. But otherwise, I'm really impressed with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a solid car. So thanks for watching another Greg Dennis review. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little bit more about the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And if you did, please will you drop a like below. And if you want to see more videos of mine and other reviews like this, then make sure you subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.